So we have the pretty much Extreme Rules right now looks like Payback without the main event. And Payback wasn't that good.
Payback, okay, like I was saying previously, I had the expectations at 1. I put it at 5. It wasn't like the greatest thing I've ever seen, but it wasn't the biggest turd I've ever seen. You know what I mean? It was okay. I mean, I didn't have high expectations, and I mean, considering how the card went, it was okay. So I guess in that case, it did slightly exceed my expectations. But here's my thing. I'm looking forward to this Jinder Mahal thing with Backlash coming up here. I think Jinder Mahal, he took the pictures with the WWE Championship before he had to give it back and this and that. But I think Jinder's been cutting some halfway decent promos. And then, at the end of the night, he pins Orton. I thought that was good. I think WWE did that the right way. I don't see Jinder winning the title at Backlash. But, I mean, if he does a hell of a job and puts on a good show with Randy Orton at Backlash and sells it very well, even in defeat, I could see him being a champion in the near future. Maybe at the next pay-per-view, maybe at SummerSlam, it's his big moment or something. That's where that's where I'm at with SmackDown. But I got to ask you, what did you think about the latest Fashion Files? I think
each episode of that has been probably the highlight of SmackDown.
Yeah, I thought it was okay. I mean, I think the first episode of it last week was really good. This week wasn't too bad. And my thing is watching JBL. What was it? The Bring It to the Table. He's very high on Breezango. Listening to that on the WWE Network, and I have to agree with him. I think they're both very entertaining, individuals. I think they got a title run. I had to agree. I'm sitting there watching JBL talk about it. I'm like, he's definitely spot on. I think he's got something there. I think Breezango is going to win the titles. Like I said, same thing. I don't think they're going to go and win it at Backlash, but I do see a future title run from Breezango. They're too entertaining, and if this Fashion Files really takes off, I think it'd be really good, to have that with the titles. I mean, where do you stand on that?
Yeah, I don't always equate entertainment with having to be a champion, but I kind of look at Breezango the same way as I kind of look at New Day, as I see if you are the champions and you kind of have that entertainment factor, you could make a lot more out of it.
Yeah, I agree.
Speaking of that, we could have Breezango versus the New Day in a tag team title feud, and I think nothing on earth would be more entertaining than the New Day.
Yeah,
and Breezango going back and forth with each other.
I think that'd be fun because they would come up with different digs on each other. You know how the New Day is. They have their digs, and I think Breezango. I mean, they'll pick apart how the New Day dresses because they're the fashion police, so to speak. I think that'd be fun. But here's the thing: the Usos are champions, so at some point, you got to drop the titles. So who do you think gets the titles first? Do you think Breezango gets it first, or do you think New Day is going to step in and take the titles from the Usos? Because I don't see the Usos dropping it at Backlash, but I do see it in the near future. Maybe at the next pay-per-view, or I would say probably the next pay-per-view.
I don't even know when we're going to see the New Day finally debut, so I can't tell you when they're going to be champions because we still don't even know.
Yeah, we don't know
when they're going to finally show up.
Well, we got to wait and see what's going to happen with Kofi with his injury. I mean, he's going to be out. He's still out for a little bit. So, I mean, based on that, based on the injury stuff, personally, I'm going Breezango. And I wouldn't have thought of that, a few weeks back because they weren't really doing anything. They were just kind of sitting in the back, not really a part of the show as much. I mean, they had their little cheesy little things here and there that it was a lot of people were fast forwarding through, so to speak. Or that's if you're at the arena, you're probably taking your bathroom break. But I think the creative has done a decent job so far. I mean, it's still new. It's only 2 episodes in with this Fashion Files thing. I think this has a chance to be a really good gimmick and hopefully puts these two talented guys, where they should be. They're entertaining and they are decent in-ring competitors. Tyler Breeze has been underutilized. I mean, he had an incident, I think, when he first came up where I don't remember the exact thing behind it, but he got in trouble and was sent home or something. So they kind of pushed him down a few rungs. And it's I think his punishment at the time was, okay, we're going to put you at Breezango, I think it was, if I'm not mistaken. And putting those two together was probably a good move because they're both entertaining. They both have a similar gimmick where they're styling and profiling, so to speak. I think it has a chance to be money.
Well, when we return, we are going to talk about the 3 questions we've been pondering all of this week with the 3 count as you're listening to the Heel of the Face podcast on Sports War Radio, Rat Pack Radio, and on iTunes.
The New York Jets are rising and are ready to compete in the AFC. Boy Green and Ty Butler will give you everything you need to know about the Jets every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern. From reviewing the previous game and looking ahead to the next matchup, to all of the news and 4 downs, the Jet Zone has everything. Follow at BoyGreen25 and at Ty D. Butler on Twitter. Proud member of Sports War Radio. Let the battle begin.
This program is simulcast on WRPR Rat Pack Radio. Go to ratpacksports.com for more information.
Do you want to stay up to date on the latest sports news? Come check out After the Whistle from 4 to 5 p.m. every Friday night. We talk about the NHL, we talk about the NFL, we talk about the MLB. You name it, we got it. Tune in on Sports War Radio.
Now is the time to get your voice heard. Sports War Radio is now accepting applications for driven and knowledgeable sports fans who want to start their very own podcast about their favorite team. Sports War Radio has an international audience and is growing fast. Don't miss the chance to become the go-to news source for your favorite team. Email sportswarradio@gmail.com and tell us why you would be a great addition to our team. Sports War Radio. Let the battle begin.
Now is the time to get your voice heard. Sports War Radio is now accepting applications for driven and knowledgeable sports fans who want to start their very own podcast about their favorite team. Sports War Radio has an international audience and is growing fast. Don't miss the chance to become the go-to news source for your favorite team. Email sportswarradio@gmail.com and tell us why you would be a great addition to our team. Sports War Radio. Let the battle begin.
Let's get back to the action. This is the Heel to the Face podcast on Sports War Radio.
Back on the Heel to the Face podcast, it is time for the 3 count, the 3 questions that we've been wondering this week. We're going to start with the Twitter question of the week. We put it out on Twitter. It is still actually going as we speak, but the current results are probably one of the closest we've had in our Twitter question of the week history. So the question was, do you agree with Vince McMahon's tweet that he put out about 2 weeks ago on John Cena's birthday, that John Cena is the Babe Ruth of WWE? Our Twitter results are 51% yes, 49% no, with still, as of recording time, 1 day and 16 hours to go. So my question to you, Brandon, is do you agree that John Cena is the Babe Ruth of WWE?
I'm in the slight minority on that. I'm at the 49% for no. I don't. He is a fantastic performer. He's done a lot of great things. He's won 16 championships. I mean, he's been the face, that runs the place and all that. But if you're going to say Babe Ruth, and I mean, as baseball fans,
what are you relating? My question is, what is he relating that Babe Ruth is? What is Babe Ruth to baseball?
I'm guessing he thinks Babe Ruth was the greatest player of all time. That's what I'm thinking. That's when you speak of Babe Ruth, and he played for my beloved Boston Red Sox, but he also played for the Yankees, who was the Red Sox arch enemy. Babe Ruth. I'm a Ken Griffey Jr. guy, where he to me is the greatest ball player of all time. That's hands down. That's my opinion. But Babe Ruth, I think with Vince, the way he said it, is saying that John Cena is the greatest to ever step foot in the ring in WWE. That's the way I look at it.
Equation of what many people think Babe Ruth is not the greatest baseball player of all time, but the greatest baseball player of his generation and one of the first greatest baseball players of all time. A lot of people don't think that so Wilt Chamberlain is the greatest basketball player of all time, but they think that he's the Michael Jordan of his era. Michael Jordan is the greatest basketball player of all time. People, that's what they think.
Yeah, there's no argument. Yeah.
A lot of people, I don't think that Babe Ruth is the greatest baseball player of all time. I think they just think that he's kind of like the pioneer. He was the first. Before Babe Ruth, we didn't really know a lot of baseball players.
I mean, if you're a diehard baseball fan, I know you are. You go to a lot of local Chiefs games. I mean, before Babe Ruth, there was a guy named Ty Cobb. Ty Cobb was pretty darn good.
And I agree that there'll always be, to historians, there'll always be people before, but I feel that Babe Ruth, to many people, is like this historical figure. Nobody says that George Washington's the greatest president of all time. They just know that he's the first president of all time. So my idea of Babe Ruth, my idea is that he's kind of like the pioneer. And if you want to say who relates somebody to being the Babe Ruth of WWE, I might say it's Hulk Hogan. He's the guy that is, in my eyes, the Babe Ruth of WWE, because it was when he came around that the WWE became what we know it is today.
Here's my thing. To your point, there's two guys that, and you already said one of them, Hulk Hogan. There's one other guy who I will, and to me, he is the greatest.
And that's another thing.
Ric Flair.
I thought you were going to say Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Ric Flair. I love Stone Cold. I would put Stone Cold up there too. I would say yes.
But what I was thinking you were about to say Stone Cold Steve Austin. So what that was going to make me actually say is Vince McMahon on record in the past has said Stone Cold Steve Austin was the greatest sports entertainer that WWE has ever had.
I'm okay
with
that.
So my question is if he's relating to Babe Ruth as the greatest of all time, then is he retracting his statement on what he said about Stone Cold Steve Austin?
I would hope he is not, because. And thank you for bringing up Stone Cold, because that's my guy. Stone Cold, Hulk Hogan, Ric Flair, no order. Those are my. If you're going to put anybody in that category of Babe Ruth, comparing Babe Ruth, how he was with baseball, and then how those three that I named are to the WWE, the sports entertainment world. John Cena he's close, but I just don't put him on that level. I think he's slightly below it. I honestly have a feeling he's probably going to win 17 as in titles. I do see that, but in my opinion, I still think Ric Flair, Stone Cold, Hulk Hogan are still better than him for many different reasons. Whether you have the most titles, the most memorable. I mean, Hulk Hogan hasn't done much wrestling in a long time, but people still remember what he was doing and still will say that was that. I mean, they'll remember where they were when Hulk Hogan wrestled. You know what I mean? That's just. I mean, maybe it's because I'm more old school. Maybe I'm an Attitude Era guy. Maybe that's just. I bet you a lot of folks disagree and say, hey, which our poll says it's yes, they think he is. I'm not saying he's not great, because he is, and there's no doubt about that. But I just can't put him on the same level comparing Babe Ruth, how he was to baseball, to John Cena, WWE. Maybe you put him as. Maybe like a Willie Mays. I mean, Willie Mays is a hell of a player.
I guess I just need a better definition on what Vince McMahon thinks Babe Ruth is.
Can he expand on that? You know what I mean?
I want to know what Babe Ruth is to Vince McMahon, so then I can really, because I would love to bring Vince McMahon here and say, what do you think Babe Ruth is? And then him say, the biggest, fattest, most overrated athlete I've ever seen in my life. Then I'd say, oh, I get it. John Cena is the Babe Ruth of WWE.
Then there you.
But I don't mean that's maybe that's what he means. You don't even know.
Yeah, he didn't expand enough.
If I say that you're the Clark bar to my candy shop, and I hate Clark bars, is that a compliment? You don't know. You got to have some sort of context. We don't know what he means by Babe Ruth.
I wish we could talk to Vince about that, because it was a very vague statement. So, to be honest,
is he saying he's the greatest of all time? Is he saying before him there was nothing? Is he saying that he's the true pioneer? Is he a rebirth of WWE?
Hell, we forgot another guy, The Rock. I'd put The Rock ahead of John Cena. That's just me.
I want to know if he thinks that John Cena is the Babe Ruth of WWE, what he would say The Rock is to WWE.
Yeah, I mean I would love to hear Vince explain that a little bit more, because it is a very vague question, but. Answering the question kind of how it is, John Cena in my book is not Babe Ruth, so to speak. He's not Babe Ruth. What Babe Ruth was to baseball, John Cena, I don't see is. I mean, at least how I'm interpreting this, I just don't see John Cena comparing apples to oranges, so to speak. I don't see it. I would put a guy like Ric Flair, Hulk Hogan, Stone Cold. I'd put even The Rock on there, but not John Cena.
Moving on to another guy that I feel could definitely be up there for Babe Ruth of WWE, at least when in terms of me personally